Hello, welcome to the Nautilus Project podcast. This is a series of talks that we're bringing you in collaboration with the Nautilus Project to find out everything there is to know about what they are doing and how right here in Gibraltar. I'm very happy to be joined by co-founder of the Nautilus Project, Lewis Stagnetto, who's just going to explain a little bit more about what you can expect in these podcasts. Thanks for joining me, Lewis. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Thanks for having me, Michelle. As a marine conservation NGO based in Gibraltar, the Nautilus Project does a lot of work educating and also researching a lot of the climate issues that affect us and how they affect the marine environment. And the purpose of the podcast is really to connect with experts around the world who specialize in very key areas to do with climate change and conservation, to allow them to explain why the work that they do is so important in maintaining our oceans.
Well, I'm really excited to get going with this. Thank you guys for watching and for listening on all the podcast platforms. We're also going to be coming at you via the Nautilus Project podcast on YouTube and on the Sofa with Rouge on YouTube too. So stay tuned. We're going to be telling you a lot more, everything you need to know. So welcome to the Nautilus Project, episode number 3. And today we are joined by Professor Alan Deidun, all the way from Malta. He's part of the University of Malta and he's a marine biologist. And today I'm going to find out what the connection is with the Nautilus Project in Gibraltar and a little bit about what he does. So good evening, Professor Alan. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure.
So first of all, you're a marine biologist and you work at the University of Malta. Tell me a little bit about what you do there, please.
Okay, so at the university, I basically had the Oceanography Malta Research Group. It's a small research group, a hard-working research group within the Department of Geosciences of the Faculty of Science. So my work basically split, I would say, along 4 lines. 3 of those 3 pillars are conducted at the university and 1 is outside. So at the university, I'm involved in teaching. I coordinate a master's course, the Masters of Science and Applied Oceanography, a 1-year full-time course. We've just kicked off this year's course with 8 students, 3 of whom are Maltese, the others are all foreign from different parts of the world. Then, so that's the teaching part. Then there's the research part.
Yeah.
Obviously, I get to publish research, take part in conferences and so on, like all basically academics at universities do. And then there's the administration, which unfortunately is very heavy because I do tend to get involved in a number of EU-funded projects and collaborations, even with other universities and other entities like Nautilus Project, for example. Mm-hmm. And then the 4th pillar, which is conducted outside university, I wear the hat of Malta's Ocean Ambassador. So sometimes I have to go to these high-profile meetings at the UN and so on. In January, in fact, I'm meeting Monaco's Prince Albert II,
okay,
as part of this Mediterranean network called Seagrass. So that's, in a nutshell, basically my professional work.
And where did your love for the sea and for the oceans come from?
So I would say I was always fascinated by the sea. So my father used to take us to the sea, not many times, because of course I remember him as being super busy. He had a shop to run, and so on. But then I always used to go with my mask, snorkeling and so on. But I think the quantum leap came, when along with a couple of friends during our undergraduate course at university, during our Bachelor of Science in Biology and Chemistry, we decided to go for a diving course, a scuba diving course. So I did my first diving course, I think it was the year 2000. And then, 25 years ago already. So then I decided, wow, this is where I want to immerse myself. But it took some time because even after all the courses, my first jobs weren't exactly in research and marine biology. So I was teaching, which I loved. It's something that I love to do, but it wasn't exactly, my calling, as you might say.
Okay, and have you been to Gibraltar before?
I haven't, but I've been quite close to Gibraltar, so I've been 12 months ago, no, a little less, last December, we came on holiday, me and my family in Granada, Sierra Nevada, and I've been to Cadiz a number of times because of this collaboration with other 8 universities that the University of Malta has within the CEU Alliance.
Yeah.
So I've done, the south of Spain, Cadiz, Sevilla, and Cordoba and Granada. So,
the area.
Gibraltar is next, is next on the list, basically.
And there are quite a lot of similarities between the Gibraltarians and the Maltese. In fact, we're very interconnected. And I suppose you know about our coastline. So is that what's connected you with the Nautilus, perhaps?
I would say it was also the enthusiasm of the individuals for Nautilus as well. So
yes.
I remember Lewis got in touch with me, Lewis Stagnetto he sent me a message on WhatsApp out of the blue. I didn't know Lewis before. And he said, listen, we're interested to do this collaboration with you on Posidonia oceanica, on the seagrass and so on. I said, wow, Gibraltar and so on. And they said, yes, let's do it, And we sat down, and I think this was, 1 year ago, over 1 year ago. So it's been brewing for some time, and we've been, planning this for quite some time. And there's other plans, in the pipeline. So yes, I think it was all. It can all be pinned down to Lewis' enthusiasm and eagerness to take this forward.
Okay, and you mentioned the Seagrass Project, very important project that's happening. I know that Lewis and Melanie were over in Malta at the end of September. They were picking up the seagrass, and they came in a plane specially and now they're growing it in the lab here. I know all about it. So tell for listeners and people watching this, explain a little bit about the Seagrass Project and how important it is ecologically for our oceans.
So, Posidonia oceanica, which is the Neptune grass, is a seagrass species which is endemic to the Mediterranean and to the, just to the part of the Atlantic which is contiguous to the Mediterranean, So it's basically a Mediterranean species. It's a seagrass, so it's a flowering plant, so it flowers and produces even fruit, and we consider it as one of the keystone species, one of those very important species of the Mediterranean, because you have fish using it as a nursery for their young, laying their eggs there. It protects the coast and the seabed from erosion by the waves. It oxygenates the water. It's a source of food for some species. It keeps the water clear by trapping all the fine sediment. So it's an extremely important habitat. But unfortunately, we're losing a lot of these meadows, we call them seagrass meadows, to a variety of stressors, multiple stressors, mainly anchoring, but also dredging, coastal infrastructure development, a lot of things, because Posidonia, unfortunately, is very sensitive to change. So this project involves taking a number of shoots from Malta, taking them over to Gibraltar, at first growing them ex situ, so not inside the water, but in tanks and aquaria, that the Nautilus Foundation has, the Nautilus Project has. And then once they are ready to go in the water, they will be transplanted within the sea, in the seabed at Gibraltar, to try to reintroduce a species which unfortunately has been lost from Gibraltar. Because once you get Posidonia back in Gibraltar, many other species will follow. So the biodiversity will thrive and so on. So it's important for the health of the sea. So I think this is, Malta frequently features as the one with the wooden spoon when it comes to environmental matters. But in this case, we're very proud that we're assisting Gibraltar in any way we can to reintroduce Posidonia to your waters. And hopefully in future we'll have, similar projects building on this collaboration where we get even students, visiting your facilities, because we have the Posidonia. Now you have it, but you also have a wonderful lab, wonderful facilities with those tanks, with those, aquaria and so on. So we're interested to get, students to study this, through your facilities. So, it's a match made in heaven, as they say.
How can we avoid, as a community, this happening? I mean, you mentioned the anchoring and all that, but can we as individuals do anything to protect our coastline?
Yes, of course. For example, for the Posidonia, if you're on a boat, obviously, and either if the boat is yours, or if you're on a boat and it's being captained by somebody else, to raise their awareness, to make the point. Listen, be mindful when you're throwing the anchor. because it's one thing to throw the anchor on sand, and it's another thing to throw the anchor, for example, on a Posidonia meadow, on a seagrass meadow. You get a lot of shoots detaching, and you get a halo, what we call a halo, which is a patch of a seabed which no longer has Posidonia, which is just bare sand. So that's the first thing. Obviously, when you're out at sea, avoid taking plastic close to the coastline. At the coastline, it's better to prevent, because this might get blown over and get in there. And obviously, don't take anything from the sea, no poaching. So don't collect live specimens, but even empty shells and so on, because those things, you might say it's an empty shell, but still that could be, useful for an octopus, for a hermit crab, even as a source of carbonate for other, and calcium for species growing their own skeleton. So try not to leave anything behind except, footsteps in the sand, as we say, and don't take anything except photos. So nature is fine as it is without us tampering with it,
Great. And one last thing, the Seagrass Project, Lewis was telling me about the carbon dioxide that it removes. Explain a little bit about that.
That's a very good point, yes. So when we think of global warming, of climate change, we know that we need to do something about these greenhouse emissions. What are greenhouse gases? Carbon dioxide is one of them. Methane is another one. These are gases which absorb a lot of heat, and they trap it close to the surface of the Earth, preventing it from escaping into outer space. So they're leading to, this global warming thing. So we have to do something about this carbon dioxide. We could either reduce it's not either, we should actually cut down our dependence on fossil fuels. So burn less oil, gas, coal, and so on, and use more renewables. But at the same time, we could do something, and one does not exclude the other, to remove some of the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and from the ocean. One way we're doing it on land is by planting trees. One way we do it in the sea is by planting seagrasses. Seagrasses, as I said before, they're flowering plants, so they need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis, and they're extremely efficient at doing it, much more than trees on land. So we don't have mangroves here in the Mediterranean because mangroves are super efficient. The next best thing after mangroves are seagrasses. So there is a lot of talk about this blue carbon, and that is what it is, trapping carbon dioxide in the vegetation, in the leaves, foliage of seagrasses underwater.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you explaining all this to us, Alan. Thank you so much. Hopefully you'll come to Gibraltar very soon.
For sure. No, it's on my, bucket list, and we'll definitely, I'll come over with the family, because we want to, soak it in. It's not just, a whistle stop, but we want to soak it in and enjoy the place.
I'm sure Lewis from the Nautilus will be very happy if you do come. So thank you so much for joining me. It's been a real pleasure to meet you, and keep up the great work.
Same here. Thank you for the opportunity and for the collaboration.
Not at all. Have a good evening. Take care.
Thank you for joining us today on the Nautilus Project podcast. Here in Gibraltar, at the gateway between the Atlantic and the Mediterranean, we're proud to keep exploring, learning, and protecting the marine world that connects us all. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, share the podcast, and leave us a review. It really helps more ocean-minded people find us. You can also follow our work, from citizen science initiatives to seagrass restoration, by visiting our website or connecting with us on social media. Together, we can inspire change and safeguard our blue planet, one story at a time. Until next time, keep curious, keep connected, and keep making waves for the ocean.